want everyone to look at the space running right down the center of the room and the gap between the chairs. Now, I want you to imagine that I've just poured a line of white concrete right down this divide. It creates a wall that goes all the way towards the ceiling. Now, if you're sitting towards my left, you are now the insiders. This is the safe zone. You belong here. You share a common history, future, and also a sense of collective belonging. But if you're sitting towards my right, you are now the outsiders. This is not the safe zone. You don't belong in the safe zone at all, and you are completely different people. Take a deep breath and look across the people on the other side. How does it feel? Intellectually, you know that I'm just a speaker on the stage. You know that this is some sort of game. Nothing physical has changed either. The air conditioning is still the same, and the seats are still the same. Yet emotionally, something shifted. Even if, just for a second, if you were part of the insiders, you probably felt a warm spark of relief, a sense of belonging. But if you were part of the outsiders, you probably felt a cold prickle of exclusion. This is the power of the imaginary line. We treat borders like they're the laws of physics. But take a step back. Where do borders on our map even begin? Who drew them? And why? Why do we agree to believe in them? This is the power of the border. It's a conjuring trick. This brings me back to my own childhood. When I was 6 years old, my dad gifted me a book of colorful flags and maps. I spent hours obsessing over it, even though it had nothing to do with schoolwork. I spent so much time that I memorized each and every country, its flag, and capital. In fact, I still remember the perfect red maple leaf of the Canadian flag. But my parents say my real obsession was with a country many of us have never even heard of, Kyrgyzstan, a flag which has a red field and a beautiful golden sun in the center. To my 6-year-old brain, this felt like magic. But looking back, I realized I was falling for the world's oldest magic trick. You see, I used to trace the thin line that separated nations on the world map. On paper, it was just a few drops of ink. But in my mind, that ink, it became a solid wall. I thought on one side was a home, where people belonged with each other. And on the other side, there was just enemies, people nothing like us. You see, I was doing exactly what we did at the start of the talk. I was letting an imaginary line dictate my reality. You see, this brings me to the truth which I want to share with you today. We tend to separate creativity from power. We think creativity lives in one box. We think it lives in art galleries or music studios or kindergarten classrooms. We think creativity is about making things beautiful. We also put power in another box. We think it lives in laws or armies or treaties. While that is true, that distinction is a lie. Real power, true power, is a creative act. Think back to the line I used to trace with my own hand as a child. That border, it didn't exist on a world map. A mountain, it doesn't know it belongs to one country. Yet someone, somewhere, had to imagine a division where there was none. And this is the magic trick. You see, think of a national flag. It is just patterned cloth. But creativity, it turns it into something we are willing to die for. We also feel a sense of collective belonging whenever we see people standing under it, under the same banner. This is the most ruthless political force in human history. But this is also the beauty of the creativity behind power. It takes a stranger and turns them into a brother simply by showing them a symbol. But if creativity can turn a stranger into a brother, it can also turn a stranger into a monster. We are entering into the age of what I like to call the age of the automated artist. When you think of the word algorithm, what comes to mind? Something mathematical, like a calculator? I want you to see the algorithm as a poet. Why? Because a calculator, it cares about facts, whereas a poet, it cares about feeling. And the AI that runs the algorithm, that is one of the most manipulative poets in human history. It constructs a narrative where you are some sort of tragic hero and the person across the political aisle is some sort of villain. It designs content made for your heart to race. And this isn't any sort of metaphor, it's in fact a code. You see, leaked documents from one of social media's biggest websites, it revealed that reacting with an angry emoji was equivalent to 5 times of reacting with a standard like emoji. Now, what does that mean? It simply means the algorithm, it profits off of your rage rather than your happiness. Why? Because rage, that's what makes you scroll. That's what keeps you addicted to your phone. You see, this is what creates a perception gap. It's the difference between what you think the other side believes versus what they actually believe. The poet, it widens this gap on purpose. Why? Again, to simply induce rage. It draws a line so thick that you cannot see the other side as a human. You can only see them for their worst. It spotlights their radical comments, and it confirms everything you believe about them. The monster it creates, that is an illusion. But the hatred, that is real. So now what? Are we doomed? Are we bound to get programmed? The simple answer is no. But the solution is not in comfort. The solution is in responsibility. You see, history, it teaches us that creativity, it acts like water. It acts like water. It confronts, it does the creativity, it doesn't confront the walls head on. It finds a crack, it seeps through, and it brings the structure down. Here is how we bring the structure down. It requires 3 specific choices. First, you must demand reality. You see, after World War II, when European cities were reduced to rubble and ash, architects, they were tasked with rebuilding it. But they didn't rebuild it with the standard conventional murals. Rather, they birthed a form of architecture known as brutalism. They poured raw, unpainted concrete and made it into stark structures. It showed the world for exactly what it was. And that is what matters, the honesty. We must use the same brutalist filter in our own minds. You see, the next time the algorithm, it shows you something that makes you rage, simply pause. Look away from the sensational headline and simply ask, what led me to believe this? And who benefits if I believe this? That single moment of awareness, that is the first crack. Second, we must refuse the enemy. You see, the algorithm, it is designed to validate your worst instincts, not to challenge them. I fall for this too all the time. Just last week, the algorithm, it fed me a video of some politician saying something completely outrageous. But it confirmed something I believed in. I felt a righteous rage. I wanted to share it with everyone I knew. But I stopped to find the full context. So I'm asking you to do something very hard, but very worth it. The next time the algorithm, it feeds you something that confirms everything you believe about the other side, simply pause. Think, do your own research about the specific issue, because we cannot outsource what we think is the truth to a machine. That will get us nowhere. It will only create more imaginary lines. So instead, we must bridge the perception gap that is being filled by this algorithm. Third, and most importantly, we must create instead of amplify. Now, what does this mean? You see, history, it teaches us that every major shift has started with expression. In Estonia, in 1990, they didn't have any weapons, and they were under Soviet occupation. So they used their voices. They started the singing revolution. What they did was, they went to the streets, they marched, and they showed the Soviet soldiers, and they sang forbidden folk songs. This shows that you can occupy a country with enough tanks, but you cannot occupy a mind that creates. And I want to be clear, you don't need to be any sort of artist to do this. You simply need to have a conversation. You see, I'm a student. I don't have a platform, but I have friends. And I have those late night, intense debates where we're arguing about some massive contemporary issue. In the past, I would have tried to win the debate. But now I pause and I try to understand the other side. Because I've come to realize that we cannot use our words as weapons. We must use our words as bridges. We must pause to understand the other side before doing anything else. You see, this history teaches us something important about power. That lines, they weaken they weaken in the sense that the moment you get awareness, you see and you become the glitch in the system. When you create moments of awareness and moments of connection, you become the glitch in the system. Next, when I talked about the line at the beginning of the speech, you believed that that was real. But I want you to hear this beautiful few lines. Lines weaken the moment we notice them. They lose power the moment we ask who drew them. The line only exists as long as we agree to see it. And the moment we realize this, the moment we stop seeing each other as sides and as human beings, we become the glitch in the system. And we realize that there was never a wall between us. My name is Rohan Sreekumar, and this is the creativity behind power. Thank you.